Bonjour, ça passe, salut tout le monde. Welcome to the Intuitive Wellness Experiment podcast, where we explore ancient wisdom, the transformative power of intuition, self-awareness, spiritual sovereignty, and empowerment. I am your host, Christine, also known as the Cosmic Doula, and in each episode, we'll embark on a journey of self-discovery and growth, diving deep into the realms of intuitive wellness. In our solo episodes, I'll share my personal experiences and insights on intuitive living, offering practical tips and heartfelt stories from my own journey. And in our interviewed episodes, which we have today, I'll connect with some inspiring individuals who have embraced the intuition and transformed their lives, inviting them to share their wisdom and experience with us on their journey of being and feeling well. So whether you are just beginning your journey or seeking to deepen your connection with your intuitive self, this podcast and your cosmic doula is here to support you every step of the way. So join me as we explore the profound possibilities of living life guided by your intuition and empowered by self-awareness. Y'all, I am so excited for you to check out today's episode. I'll keep the intro short and sweet because Nyasha, who I have, the creator of the amazing Black Tarot, Alchemist deck, and Saturday Magic, this new amazing book, came on the podcast and shared a lot about her journey, her intuitive wellness journey, as well as some of the exciting podcast projects she has going on. So I hope you enjoy it. Get your pens ready. Some history is being dropped, some knowledge is being dropped, some energetic sovereignty tips are being dropped, and it's just a beautiful, great episode with a friend and a colleague of mine. So I hope y'all enjoy. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Intuitive Wellness Experiment podcast. I have my dear friend and amazing woman here, Nyasha. Nyasha is an author for over 8 books and the creator of some of our favorite tarot decks, the Black Tarot Ancestor Awakening Elements Oracle deck, a writer, a social justice griot and weaver. I could go on and on and on, but I would love for you to introduce yourself to the podcast audience if you can.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. So I am Nyasha Williams. I identify as an author, creator, and activist, but also so much more. I am a lot of things. I feel like I always let people know that I'm a transracial adoptee. I think that plays a huge role in my creative journey and my spaces that have influenced my creativity and how just the
Can you
walk.
explain what that is for those of us that might not know?
Absolutely. So a transracial adoptee is someone who is adopted, but they are adopted by people outside of their race.
Mhm.
So my parents are white and my siblings and I are all Black. And so that is what transracial adoption is. Um, yeah, which I like to do a lot of work around decolonization. And so adoption is one of those realms for me where I've had to really sit with this understanding of the way that our world views adoption is very much through a lens of white saviorism. And so just sitting with that and getting a better understanding. So I always highlight to people um, taking space and making space for listening to adult adoptees, because in adoption realms, it's the people who are in the agencies and the institutions that are organizing the adoptions and the parents who are choosing to adopt whose voices are the loudest and who are amplified. So I try and tell people to listen to birth parents and listen to adult adoptees, because those are spaces
Yeah.
that are not heard as often and really do need to be listened to in the ways that um, adoption needs to be decolonized, transformed, and indigenized and liberated in many of the spaces of our world today.
Love that.
Um,
Thank you for shining a light on that for sure.
Absolutely. I am one of six siblings. I have a lot of siblings that were adopted with me. I also have a brother in my bio family as well. Um, and I love water. Water is a huge part of my practice. Before I was aware of being a reflector and just all the other aspects of my identity, water was something that I didn't realize consciously was giving me so much. It was holding me in so many ways, cleansing what needed to be cleansed,
Mm.
returning and trying to remind me of what I need to be reminded of. I always think of myself as twice displaced, being both a transracial adoptee and being an African American individual.
Mhm.
And so reconnection to my roots is a big part of my work. I try and remind people our journey here with in relation to our soul missions, in relation to what we're trying to do here is coming back home.
Oh,
So we're coming back home to ourselves, we're coming back home to our roots, we are reconnecting and reuniting with ourselves.
oh, I felt that
Mhm.
all over my body. Absolutely. Coming home to ourselves, coming home to our roots. That's where it starts. That's where it all begins and how we can truly identify who we are, right? Oh my
Absolutely.
goodness. Thank you so much for sharing that. And just as we are at the time of us filming this, we are in Cancer season. And as soon as
Yeah.
Nyasha came on board, I was like, "You're the mermaid that just came out of water. Like, you look so beautiful."
Thank
Like, yeah, and
you.
that's how I see you, as this like beautiful mystic, reflective, so wise, and that kind of what water represents to me, right? It's kind of like the mystery and also holds so much wisdom and wealth and beauty, and you exude that. So
Thank you.
yeah, I would love to know what social justice griot is. Could you explain and dive a little bit deeper into that? And how
Yeah.
you chose those. I know you're an author, so words are very potent and powerful for you. And as I was just kind of briefing over your bio and looking at some of the things that you chose to highlight on your Instagram, I thought that it was a beautiful collaboration of words. So if you could just share a little bit about that.
Yeah. So Griot are these beautiful community members in Africa that I feel like people often label them as storytellers, but they were so much more and are so much more than that. And when I say that, they literally carry the history, the I think when I talk about griots, I think, okay, we have to stop and reflect on the power of the oral narrative and how important the oral narrative is. I think when we got colonized and all these transitions happened to many indigenous cultures, we were told that literature and media needed to be written, that there was a specific and hierarchy in knowledge and the passing of knowledge. And I think that to me, griots are this reminder that it's there's so much more historically, and it's a reminder of how powerful our um how powerful the origins of our literature and media like carrying in our communities was orally, and how that magic just it never stops. Like I feel like I always look at the walk of how knowledge gets passed within indigenous communities, and when you look at what really brings to life, I think BIPOCs, when I watch where we really shine in terms of like our understanding of things and our um giving in terms of knowledge to communities, it's very much orally. And so you just see these beautiful spaces where we flourish in those spaces. And it's because that's
Absolutely.
where our origins were. That's where we started. That's what was, we were by the fire doing this. Those are the
Yes.
beginnings. And so I, griots like were, I mean, they're powerful in the sense of like music. So they,
Mm,
these beautiful music players. They were the storytellers. They were um, the keepers of the knowledge of the community, right? Like they carried the stories, the histories, the knowledge of the community for everyone. You know, they were definitely someone you would reference when trying to figure out what to do next, or if something comes up in the world, like, or if something comes up in your community, because they carry this world of knowledge within them. I like if I had to correlate it to a story of how I envision griots in the sense of like what they carried within them knowledge wise, I view it as like, I don't know if you know the book or the movie The Giver. I
mm,
see them as the giver. There's a role in the community of this person who carries all of the knowledges, all the histories, all the, you
beautiful.
know, and they are able to see color. It's a very interesting film in that way. But
Mhm.
that person carries so much for the community in not everyone having to hold all of that memory. But I
Mhm.
think it is a powerful, powerful role to play in the community of being this person. And I think that, you know, it's a lot for us to carry alone. We're never alone.
Yeah.
So the ancestors are carrying so much through with you in that memory, in that holding of all
Yeah.
of that knowledge and wisdom, that anyone can reference or needs to use. And I think as we step into ourselves and our roles and our relationship with our ancestors,
Mm.
I feel like we tap into griot energy.
Mm.
We tap into that power of that wisdom, that knowledge, that like um it's almost like your own Akashic records, right? Like they were
Yes, yes,
curious
yes.
of the Akashic records almost for the community. So it's like that's how I view it. And so we're like, you know, when we think about things that have been historically hidden and we are re-highlighting them in new ways, bringing up the real narrative, sharing this knowledge that has been forgotten, we move as griots in that, I believe,
Mm.
as ancestral griots.
Ah. Wow. Thank you so much for breaking that down for me because when I think of how it's spelled and how everything, and it's fried pork in Creole.
I
And
love
it's
it.
yeah, it's griot. We call it griot. And it's fried pork, it's delicious. So good. But griot is one of the offerings that was presented to the Loa during Bwakamwe, the revolution, the ceremony that happened before the Haitian Revolution. So it's a powerful, powerful, powerful. And you just think of, just that story in general. It is griot, like what you shared. And so that when I thought of that, I'm like, what does that mean? Like, because I'm thinking, like fried pork, like maybe I need to make some griot today. But um, it's just beautiful how even just the power and the knowledge of um those village people. And then when I think of that, I think of that ceremony and the power
Mhm.
that they all had and the knowledge that they were sharing. It wasn't only, the enslaved, it was the also the indentured servants and all of these other people and how they worked together and shared different knowledge and stories and had this as an offering to the Loa and able to become the first Black, nation of the world. So that's
And when
just
you
really
think of hoodoo, you
yeah,
like think about the stories that pass down, right? Like
yes,
people who aren't even conscious of them practicing hoodoo in the community, it's oftentimes these stories
yeah,
or these messages that have been continually passed down. That like, oh, don't do this, or this is the way to do this, or like these, and I feel like my mother-in-law and I talk about all the time how we get cooking recipes, intuitive recipes
yes,
like that. It's like
yes,
this, you know,
yeah,
passed down of knowledge. And I feel like that to me is very much the griot
yeah.
um, in energy and in community in this oral passing of knowledge.
Ooh, That's where our power lies, for sure, for sure, for sure. And so you bring social justice into that work. And
Yes.
I know from your books, like you're raising social justice warriors through your literature as a children's author. So, can you share a little bit about that and your journey and how you chose to be a children's book author? Because not only do you create this powerful deck for, the parents and the mamas, but you also create a beautiful, which you gifted to my daughter. So, thank you so much, an affirmation deck. And she uses those and she has that on her little altar of empowerment as well. So can you share a little bit of your journey of what social justice and how you're weaving that into the Griot work that you're doing?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's very evident that our systems need transformation and change. We're here and ready for a revolution. Talking about the Haitian Revolution, I'm like, we are ready for a new world,
We're in one
a
now,
more
yeah.
equitable, a more just, a more loving world. And so I think more and more people are hearing that shift. I think there's nerves and fears about that. I think some people are conscious that it's not simple. Like when you read about revolutions, there was bloodshed. It's challenges because there's people who are pushing back against that, right? Like it's not an easy, simple transition. And so I think some people fear that, especially when you think of the creature comforts that people have now. Some people don't have the creature comforts and they're like, what do I have to lose? So it's like we're in a very interesting place in terms of people being ready for that. It's like ready to step into
Yeah.
what does the revolution look like? And I'm ready to step into my role in that.
Ooh,
Um,
yes.
which more people are shifting to it, but it's scary. It's not like just it takes this reexamination of comfort, and like it's this reexamination and shift of expectancy of
Mm,
expectations,
mm, mm.
because we need to um I think one of my the thing that comes to my brain always when it comes to making our shift in our world is that we know money speaks. There's two things in our world that are like really big in terms of like making shifts. And the one is money, like putting your money in places that you believe in. So voting with your dollar. I think that's one of the most powerful things we can do right now is because people listen to money. So vote with your dollar. One. Secondly, the other huge shift we can do is we live in an attention-based economy. So people people are getting paid and people are attracted to where attention is going. And that is um can generate a lot of things, including money through attention. So all of these things matter. That's why like these things have risen up of like people in relation to what they believe in. They may be boycotting specific restaurants, boycotting specific things. I haven't gone to McDonald's in like probably over a year now, right? Because I'm making an active choice in not giving them my money. I still haven't fully made the shift from Amazon, but I try and do as little as I can because I don't feel like Amazon is building the world I believe in, is putting their money towards the world I believe in. The same with when we think about attention-based economy. This is why people were blocking celebrities, because people are like, I don't think this person deserves my attention. I don't think that this person is really down for the cause. They're really not here for the shift that we need in the world. They're not doing the work. They're not speaking up about things that matter. Um, I will never be a Beyonce or Taylor Swift stan. I am so sorry. To me, both of those two people, if they rallied together, when you think about money and attention, the way that they could take their communities, the Hivers, the Swifties, and transform things, they have power and influence that could transform things. And
That's a
I
fact.
was like, you have to sit in that and wonder, they're making a choice. They're comfortable in the systems. Why would they disrupt them? So we need to sit with that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
when it comes to social justice and the work that I do, I try and highlight things in our world that I feel like need to be brought forward. So when I say I'm an author, I don't I do have children's books. I have my decks. I'm writing a screenplay. I'm writing a graphic novel. I don't want to ever be boxed into one space because I have so many things I want to give to the world. But I hope that my work is always this catalyst towards people imagining anew, people decolonizing their dreams, people thinking beyond what currently exists, people realizing, oh, like there is space for change, there's room for change, things can be different. I think something as important as like the visual of Black people in water and enjoying water is a powerful visual, considering when you think about what has happened historically with us with water. Water healing is the place I sit with often for us as a people because water is life. We need water to live. And it is a space that has such complicated history for us, and has been used so actively to harm us. And so I feel like us re-embracing water, reconnecting with that element, which I think we need elemental healing across the board, like all the elements, like even fire, when you think about all of the harm that has been caused towards us, especially Jim Crow era with us with fire and all these things. I was like, water healing, elemental healing for our community is so deeply needed and
Mm.
will be so transformative. But when I do my work, I always hope that it's this stepping stone towards people seeing my work, looking at it, appreciating what I've done, appreciating what they see, critiquing it. I welcome critique. Please tell me where I have gaps, where I didn't get everything. And please use that to step forth and expand what my work can be, expand what is possible, continually moving towards using our creative work as creative resistance and creative liberation, and imagining what our world can look like visually and in written form, in artistic form, in freedom for all.
Oh, yes. Come on, you're like, yeah. Oh my gosh. And you can feel that in your work. Like there is this sense of when I read your book, it's and interact with your decks, there is a sense of like, what do you think? What can you imagine? What can you create? And that is powerful, especially us as Black people. We've been so limited or being put into a box. But with your work, it really inspires us to tap into that creativity, tap into some of those emotions that bubble up within us. And through those emotions, like in human design, they say your best time to create is through those melancholy moments. So through
Mm.
those low and melancholy moments, you have divine creativity. And I feel like your work really, really, really amplifies that. And the fact that you're just starting so young, because that's where you have the most prime creative mind, right? You think of, the fifth house and Leo and children, and that's creativity, right? That's the house of also creativity. And so if we plant those little seeds in the minds of children at such a young age, imagine like they are here, like you're setting our kids up. I feel like to do this work, to enter into the new world, right? To enter to dismantle currently the systems that are currently crumbling down. But where does that leave us? We need to have imagination. We need to
Yes.
have creativity, and your work.
And we need to have action.
Action.
So it's like my work, I always hope that it inspires action, because we need to move from dreaming is so important. I'm all about dreaming, but we also need to put dreams into action and be putting our hopes and our imaginings into action.
Yes, yes. And so how are you? I mean, clearly from your books and everything, but currently right now, how are you putting this work into action? Are there certain projects that maybe you're working on that's kind of the action part of this? Because we know that you have the creative mind, but where are you putting action into this liberation so far?
Yeah, good question. So, first and foremost, I would say that I am shifting in so many different ways, but one of those ways is through me making the decision to slow. I mean, it's I feel like it's well, I've had children, these are my books and my decks. Well, I've had these babies in the traditional pub world, and I am highly grateful. I am making this shift out of there. So I'll always be a part of that world, we'll always be connected. I have these babies in that world. But I feel like, to me, I see so many gaps. And I think that's where a lot of times my work sits, is I'm going through life and I'm like, ooh, there's a huge gap here. And I step into it. Sometimes I just speak it out loud because I hope someone else can step into certain gaps, but I see the gap and I'm like, ooh, there's a
Speak
huge gap.
it. Speak
So
it.
right now, the publishing industry is, number one, it's been a very white world. So that itself is challenging, because I was like, if you know about traditional publishing, it is not the easiest to get a book in with an agent, to find an agent who loves your story, loves your book, and then to get that book published with one of these publishing houses, particularly the big four, because everything is becoming these monopolies now, right, in most industries. And I have been very blessed to self-publish myself to start, be noticed in my self-publishing to the point of getting me agents where I didn't even have to query to get agents, right? Like, and my agents believing in my work, no matter what I brought forth to them, pushing it out to publishers, and being about 15 works in traditional publishing now, right? That is huge. And in a very short amount of time, I'm also like, when you hear people who get on stages who have their first book or their debut novel, and they're like, I had this many query letters to try and get an agent. I had this many rejections from publishers before I was even considered. So a lot of people would look at me and be like, why in the world are you leaving? Like, you made it, and why would you ever leave? Um, so many different reasons for that. I feel like I said, one, it's a very white world. So I'm still feel like I'm measuring myself and my work to this white ruler of success. Um, and, you know, I think in our stories, there's stories that we want to tell, and they can be watered down because they're marketing to who they believe their audience is. Um, I've had some very interesting interactions with publishers, both here and in the motherland. I was published by Penguin Random House South Africa as well, and some of those conversations are whew, interesting to say the least. In relation to who they think is buying books and how to market to the various audiences. Because, as you know, my work, it's for everyone. I want it on everyone's shelf because everyone needs to see various characters as a starring role, right? Like, books act as doors, mirrors, and windows. We know this. That being said, books and literature and media is so transformative. This is why I work in this realm in terms of the revolution, because when you think of any huge aspect of indoctrination in our world, aspect of really a belief, really a system. I cannot tell you how much literature and media played a role in that being possible. And I think of this as Manifest Destiny. I think of this as the American Dream. I think of this in, um, you know, just who America is as a country. Like, there's so many things. I think of Paris. Like, when we think of Paris, people have this very specific visual of Paris, and it's been very funny to watch people who've gone to Paris more recently and finally have that experience, especially people of color, and they're like, whoa, like, it's nothing like what I saw from literature and media, like the hype that I wanted. They're like, it's real rough out here. Like, it's not that. It's been so romanticized. So, like, we've created this vision of what it is, right? I think I always correlated to like Pisces, like that dreamy, like rose-colored glasses, like that they put over our
Neptunian
eyes.
disillusion and illusion and the fog.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's this aspect of Pisces that's very beautiful and the dreamy, but we don't want to disillusion people, but we do want people to imagine a different reality. So that's where I think my Aquarius energy comes in, and like I feel like there's new spaces to be. I think we can imagine still, we can have our head in the clouds, but we want a more honest reality of what can be. And we want um beautiful imaginings that are more just. And so,
Ooh, and that's the water bear, right? You're taking that Pisces water and you're using your intellect to create something. And I just want to pause here. Can't believe
yeah,
we didn't do it, but if you wouldn't mind sharing your big three and your human design. So if you want to share that with the audience, because I think it can add a little bit more depth. And I love that you brought in the water aspects of the Pisces and the dreaming. And then you
yes.
could beautifully transition to how the Aquarius really carries that water to create something new. So if you don't mind sharing, I know our audience are big
Yes.
cosmic people.
So I will do both. So Western astrology,
Yes.
I'm Aquarius sun, I'm a Cancer moon, and I am a Leo rising. In Vedic, I am a Capricorn sun, I'm a Gemini uh, moon, and I am a Leo rising.
Ooh,
Um,
you're rising in both.
yes. And so, yeah, very interesting in relation to all that. And then, of course, my human design is I am a reflector. Yes,
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you.
absolutely. So, yeah, um, I very much um, think we're in a space in the world where everyone needs to be sitting in this imagining of what can be like, and it's hard. I was like, I feel like I talked to a lot of my boomer family members, my parents, and they can't see something beyond, especially like our current systems in relation to voting and our political systems. And I'm like, yeah, but it's not real anymore. I was like, I was like, there's so many aspects about it that make it not real. I was like, I bought into this for a while, but like at this point, it's like, it's not real. I was like, while there can be much to be said and critiqued on Obama, I was like, if Obama had a traffic ticket, he would have not been considered, right? And I was like, we have a person on our stage who's being considered for presidency and has tons of felonies under their name. Like, this isn't real to me anymore. So I was like, we can't sit in these systems in these like things that are clearly not making sense and like are just kind of shifting the rules as we're going. Like we need, as much as I'm here for water, because yes, be like water, we need to flow and ebb. This is not that space for me. Like I'm here for us, like moving that water beyond what we're being stuck with. Like we've got to shift further than that. We need new systems. We need new ways of being. I was like, people who love talking about these founding fathers, they love talking about that. I'm like, bet, like there are founding fathers who legit said it's not going to make sense for us to keep the Constitution the way it is. Like it needs to shift and be like water and flow as our country changes. It needs to change. And it was kind of brushed off, but the reality is people like to go back and reference that. And I'm like, so much has changed. And we need to honor that that's part of our world, that's part of our society. Think of how much technology changed. Think of how much things have shifted. It's like very evident that like things need to evolve with us. I think even in our spiritual traditions, as much as we're going back to our roots, we do them in our own way. We do it in a way that like feels aligned to us in this time, in this being, in this um place in this world. It's like, um, what's a perfect example of this? I was like, um, in some traditions, I know that there's especially in traditional old African traditions, there's like you do offerings, different kinds of offerings. And so I think that an example of this, and it's like this is very timely because you and I are working on an offering oracle together and we're building that space together. But I think that people limit what an offering can be. I think people get in their heads about what an offering
Take
is.
on it. Yes.
And my sister, I was like, I'll never forget this. My second youngest sister, who I wrote the Elemental Alchemist, my oracle deck with, she, in order to build a relationship with her ancestors, some were from South Africa, some were from Lesotho, which is a small country within the land of South Africa. But she sang to them. She learned their national anthems and would sing to them and built this. And she didn't know these national anthems. Well, she knew South African, but she didn't know Lesotho. And so it was like this whole learning curve for her and would sing to them. And it's like, that's such a unique, different offering. I never would have thought about it, but it's like, again, no money. I think some people get into their heads about like everything's got a cost and this and that. And it's like, no, there are these gorgeous offerings that are just like us showing this discipline and this love and this commitment to our ancestors that, it's absolutely free, but you're still giving so much, right? I know that there's certain traditions where blood offerings are a thing, right? Like we know that there are people who will sacrifice a goat or sacrifice various things. This is across the board in indigenous cultures, whether it's white indigenous cultures or black indigenous cultures, you see it. And I've heard people saying that like they will do those kinds of things in video games, their blood offerings, rather than doing it a physical out here. I've heard that. So it's
Interesting.
just
That's
so interesting how people transform and reimagining what can be and but still honoring their own way of
yeah.
giving, and I think that I think there's so much interesting room for ingenuity for us in what can be. And so I think that's what I get inspired by in our world is just like how magical people's imaginations can be if they have that freedom and they given that space to live in that creative space of imagining.
Ooh.
There's just such gorgeous, beautiful, ancestral,
Mm.
uh, just juju that comes up, and you're just like,
Yes.
yes, I need all of this, and I need to hear about it, and I need to bask in this magic.
Yes, 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 yes. Oh my goodness. So you shared how, like with Fire Honey Press and how you're, taking action and how you're,
Yes.
doing that. And we tapped a little bit into the spiritual practices, but a big thing of the Intuitive Wellness Experiment podcast is, experimenting with what it means to be and feel well.
Mm,
So as you're starting something new, something that is so needed, publishing company, how are you maintaining your individual sovereignty, your energetic sovereignty? Because I know um, I learn a lot from you. And I would love to hear how you make sure that you stay well and be well, because we know this work is not for the faint of heart, for the weak of heart.
yes.
And you need to have, your protections and your individual sovereignty, and you need to be well. If you're not well, you can't do this work. You're going to burn out. And who does that help? So can you share a little bit about, your intuitive wellness practices and kind of what you're experimenting with right now? Because we know it probably changes or has changed from when you started.
Yeah. So wellness for me is always like embodies so many different parts. Like I think westernized wellness divides everything, whereas like I think that when you start decolonizing health and wellness, you're like, oh, everything's interconnected. Like I can't create because I was like, I might have multiple issues in multiple areas that are like all impacting that, right? And so I personally recognize my spiritual, my mental, my physical, my emotional health in my wellness. And my number one rule is that I don't give from my cup, I give from the overflow of my cup. So that's a huge shift that I made, and was an important shift. I also like I think another thing that I had to like learn along the way is like, this was from my husband, like I kind of learned this through my husband as well, is like my parents, my adoptive parents are very giving people. They're very loving. they give so much. And I have always appreciated that in them. That being said, I do feel like they burn out from that. And I think that they also don't have the best boundaries on their time and energy because they're just trying to give so much to the world. Um, and they did that a lot financially. And I'm one of my love languages is gifting for sure and like financial supporting. And so I, when I left my parents' home, kind of continued to give out the same way my parents did, just like mirroring what they were doing. And when my husband said to me, he's like, okay, like, you know, we really have to sit with like making sure we're okay at home first so that we can give out to others because there were times where I would be giving so much and then we would be really struggling at home and he was like this can't really flow like this, like we have to be secure so that we can help allow others to be secure. And so that was a shift for me and something that I needed to transition from. And like while my parents, I'll say they've always been secure, they still because they have that financial ability, I still do like I look at them even now and it's like they are just like so giving of their time and energy to the point of like I do think that there's been health challenges for my parents. I do think that there's been many things that I think they needed to set better boundaries about, but like I always say there's certain fields and careers, they know who they're hiring. And I say that with nurses, I say that with doctors, I say that with teachers. They know who they're hiring, and they know that we like are almost we are pretty much sacrificial in our giving and how we give.
Self-sacrificing, yeah.
Mhm. And so we put other bodies above our own, which it's like you can't give the way you want to and nurture the way you need to when you're doing that. And it's like, I think also when you're giving like that, especially for family at home, you're really going to struggle to give your family what they need when you're giving like that at work too. Like it's just this really unhealthy, complex balance that occurs. Um, like I knew when I was in the classroom, the way that I gave my soul to my classroom and as much as it was beautiful in that space, I was like, when I came home, I had like nothing to give. I was like, I just need to sleep. I can't do anything else. I'm just like, I just want to. So, um, this is why my husband always says that like teachers should be paid like CEOs because the reality is that they would give it back to the community. Like it literally goes back into the
Oh,
class.
true.
And so I that was a huge shift for me in relation to how I care for myself. Um, and I'm also a very firm believer of I don't believe in people being self-made, and I don't believe in people um like I don't believe in the scarcity mindset of there not being enough. I think there's enough for everybody. I think we absolutely, if we change our systems and we move differently, and I don't believe in billionaires, I feel like we can allow everyone to be in comfort. Like no one really has to be struggling. No one has to be hungry. No one has to be in debt for medical bills. I don't believe any of that should exist. And I also believe that it doesn't matter whether you got financial help or you got help in a different way, everyone gets to support to where they are. There's no being self-made because whether it's ancestral support, whether it's um, just someone cheering you on, whether it's like someone giving you a ride, whether it's whatever that looked like, you got some community support. And I think community support is transformative. To me, self-made is very individualistic. And I think that that's a huge issue in our world in terms of us being able to really step into the revolution properly and making the transitions we need to, is stepping out of individualism. Um, I have to shout out, there's someone whose book is coming out this year and it's phenomenal.
Good tell.
So there is an individual Um, and they wrote a book. It's centered in tarot. And their idea within this for the book is in the idea of reimagining tarot not as individual characters, especially the major arcana, but reimagining them as collectives, which I'm like,
Ooh,
first of
wee.
all, I need that deck, but they don't feel like that's their job. They're like, their job is to write the book. But I'm like, please, I'm like, I think I need to write that deck, draw that deck at some point because what? That is magical.
I'm
But
getting triggers.
their whole book, and it is 78 acts of liberation, is centered at looking at these collectives in revolutionary acts that have occurred in our world. So they are looking at the Black Panther Party as one of them. Like they're looking at all of these different major arcanas as collectives and collectives that have existed in our world and caused transformation. So it is phenomenal. And I'm just like, I helped with sensitivity reads and editing. So that was really an honor to do that.
Beautiful, beautiful.
I was also asked to write the forward, but I was unable to do that just because I had two family members pass away during that time. And so I was like, I need to step back. But I did write a blurb in um, promotion of the book. But it is, please go and
Yeah.
support
Yeah,
them.
you got to let us
Uh,
know when it comes out and then
I
tell
talk
people.
about this
It,
person being an ally and being in it and really wanting us to transform our world. That book is,
is it
yeah.
out for a pre?
So it is for pre-order right now. Yes. So 78 Acts of Liberation. Um,
We'll make sure that
okay.
we drop the link in the
Yes.
description.
But yes, please support because I was blown away when I read that. I was just like, yes, phenomenal.
Well, thank you so much for sharing some of the things. And I know you talked a little bit about elements. Do you want to share maybe a couple of tips? Like I said, y'all, like I go to Nyasha for some energetic hygiene tips and tricks, and she reflects back such beautiful things to me. So if you don't mind offering our audience and maybe share with us in the comments how you, while you're doing your liberation work, because I know a lot of the audience here are activists and liberators in their own right. So share how you maintain, because you said, you refuse to give from an empty cup or you give from your overflow. So would you mind sharing or reflecting back to our audience how you use the elements in, yeah, energetic hygiene
Yeah.
or in your work to stay and be well?
So especially if I'm in public spaces, I generally got my head covered, obviously. And if it's not covered, I still sprayed something like right now. I'm obviously wearing sprays. So that's just a general, like, there's a lot of energies in our world. So much is happening. So we need to protect ourselves, and our heads are important places, back of our neck. Um, I also um make sure to upkeep spiritual hygiene around your home, because I was like, that is a safe space. That is something that when you're going out in the world, you're coming back in, you want to make sure that you're taking care and nurturing your home. Um, and there's lots of different ways to do it because I think sometimes it can feel overwhelming. So finding your own rhythm and way of doing that is necessary, and just figuring out what that looks like for you and whoever lives in the home with you. I have specific days I'll handle certain spaces in the home. That's like a good way to do it. I also, the Oracle deck for the Elemental Alchemist has beautiful, absolutely beautiful. That Oracle deck has, the journal has absolutely beautiful. Um, I wanted a bullet journal, but like people who don't want to have to draw and do all the other aspects of bullet journaling, I wanted to give you that like experience without having to be an artist for per se. So the bullet journal aspect is these gorgeous images that you can use to track your spiritual hygiene, track your readings, track you taking care of yourself and filling your cup, track all these beautiful ways of being and taking care of yourself and nurturing yourself and your home. So if that is something that you need in relation to, you know, building up this habit and practice, um, I think the other aspect is just however you commune with your ancestors, making daily practice of that, like making space for them to commune with you. Everyone's going to commune differently. I do love divinational tools, but I was like, there's so many other ways for them to commune with me. I speak to them every time in water. That's my elemental. So every time I'm in water, which is literally right now in summer, every day, I am making space to speak to the water. It's really interesting because this may be um I don't know if it's extra, I don't know if it's Delulu, I don't know if it's unhinged, but I feel like every time I go into a pool, I've been apologizing to the water in relation to being sort of trapped because it's like got all these forced chemicals in it and then it's like stuck. I was like, I thank you for
That makes
everything
so
you're
much
giving
sense.
me and all the space, but I also honor that we've like restricted you in your space. So I try and do both and I'm very thankful for it and I have so much gratitude. And I'm like, I'm so sorry we've kind of like imprisoned you in our own way. Um, yeah, and I feel that a lot about a lot of different things. Zoos I cannot attend because no, that is a very hard space for me. And I know people who really can hear animals really struggle. And so that is a space that just is not doable for me at all, aquariums, zoos. Um, but I think also building relationships with the trees in your space, like reconnecting with nature is so important. And being able to hear nature. I talk to the trees all the time. We have a relationship, we're having discussions. I greet them first when I walk out my front door. Just building those relationships with nature is so important in relation to us reconnecting with the land because colonizers are the opposite. You're not doing that. You don't view your interconnectedness with the land. Like the land's gone, we can't live without the land. Like our beings and lives and souls and everything is literally entwined. Our fates are entwined. So it's like to not have that consciousness is very problematic. And to not move consciously in that is very problematic.
Ooh, y'all taking notes. Those are some good shares. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing those. And yeah, just the simple things. It doesn't need to be this whole big elaborate ritual. It could mean just learning the anthem of your native ancestors, or just playing it, thanking a tree as you go out, apologizing to the water as you dive into that swimming pool. Those are all beautiful, just simple, very simple, doable things that we can do to build relationships and make sure we keep our energetic sovereignty afloat. So, as we close here, can you share a little bit about what you're currently working on right now and where people can find you? What are you kind of most excited about right now? I know that you just launched something. So yeah, if you don't mind just sharing what projects you got going on, because you always got something going
So
on.
with Fire and Honey Press, I was like, I didn't really describe like what it is and what makes it different. First of all, it's a digital publishing home, or house or honeycomb. And the whole point with Fire and Honey Press is every project that goes through a store comes out in three formats. So it comes out in an animated or film format. You'll visually be able to watch it. Then you've got an audio or an auditory format to be able to listen. So that's paying honor to our oral traditions and oral cultures. And then you've also got a written form, so you can read it like an ebook. So every single story is going
Groundbreaking,
those three.
groundbreaking work.
Yes. So I feel like there's so many reasons for that. And I feel like it's accessible so many ways. And just, you know, I think the story will have its own life in those three versions. Cause I don't, to me, the ebook version and that artist is different to me than the animator. So when you buy each version, you're getting a completely different experience. You're experiencing the story differently. So I have this really beautiful vision in that way. And all of the stories that go through Fire and Honey Press are really going to be intended in that dreaming, in that challenging, and imagining anew, in that transformation for us and coming home in our roots. So right now I'm working on trying to find grants and funding towards the animated first version of the first story to go through Fire and Honey Press. So I have that sample story to showcase. So that's what I'm trying to do. So I have a GoFundMe up, but I'm also trying to get grants and trying to get funds or a sponsor, someone who sees what I'm trying to do and wants to step in and allow me that space to build what I'm trying to build here. In terms of books, I have 2 books coming out this year, Traditional Pub. So they're both through, okay, let me rewind that. They're not both through anything. One is through Running Press Kids, and the other one is through Andrews McNeil. And they are both children's books, but I don't view picture books as just for kids. I've never believed that. I actually run a picture
Absolutely not.
I run a picture book club for adults out here because I feel like they're so giving. The books are beautiful. I feel like the images give everybody something. And so
Yes.
I'm very much an advocate of like, you don't have to have kids to be buying picture books. And so the book that just came out June 11th, so like 2 weeks ago, I wrote with my mother in love. Her and I are very close, and that is Saturday Magic. So that is beautiful. It's centered in hoodoo, in ancestral veneration, in the magic of dreams. So that is that book. The and I think the reason why that book to me is so groundbreaking is because we are still waiting for Black bodies to be affirmed in magical realism in our books and movies and literature and media. Like you see this in Disney and Pixar for other communities, but like we've been really disconnected. We're still viewing that as scary. We've been trained to view that in really harmful narratives through Hollywood and colonization and white supremacy. And it's like that's something we need to re-step into. So Black magical realism is something that I'm like absolutely here for. And please, if you hear the call, step into it. Um, yeah, because Root Magic by Ellen Royce, giving to my soul. So good. So I'm happy for more books to start coming, but we need so many more. And then the other book I have coming out, which I'm starting to work on the marketing for that, is if you like I Spy books, if you like Where's Waldo, those kind of like puzzle seek and find books, I had never seen a diverse one. And so I had found an artist and I was like, please, can we step into this because this is missing and I really want something like this. So they designed an all Black I Spy book for me. It's called Where is Koketso?
Stop it.
Which is
What?
it's my youngest sister's name, so it's based on her. I took like a picture from her childhood, and so she is our character that we're looking for. So I'm really excited about that book and all that it can be. And
I'm excited about that. My little kid is just like, my inner child is like so giddy. I love those books.
yes. So again, both of these books, I saw them as series and they weren't bought by publishers as series. So they want, again, publishers want those numbers. They want to see the interest. So if those call to you, please do share the wealth. Please do support. Pre-orders are huge for authors.
Is that in
But
pre-order right now?
you can pre-order Where's Coquetza right now, absolutely. And if you've bought Saturday Magic or you do buy it, please reviews. So Goodreads, Amazon, that's
Yeah.
huge for us as authors as well for that traction and to get picked up and people to notice the books, and then also for publishers to consider possible additions because we see so many magical adventures. Deo from Saturday Magic can go on, and then I absolutely just like Where's Waldo, there's a million Where's Waldo's books, right? And I like absolutely see that for Where's Coquetzo. And so I'm hoping that people can honor that and see that shift as well. um but yes, so all of those things. And I
Where can we
in the
find
fall,
you?
what'd you say?
Where can we find you? Where are all of this housed?
Yes. So everything's available online. My website is really easily accessible, and we'll have it linked.
Yes.
But yes, so my website's really easy. If you go to my Instagram, I'm writing to change the narrative. So those are really easy ways to discover me. If you want to know what's most active in my life and what I'm thinking, my most active thoughts in this moment, my Substack is a great way to follow
Yeah.
me because my Substack is regularly being updated and I have lots of juicy things that I'm sharing on
Oh,
there that I want to share with community. So that's a great place to follow me if you want to be most updated on what's happening. Um, and yeah, like I feel like a lot of projects are going to be happening this like fall and winter season. I think that things are going to be continuing to evolve. Like I know that for our Oracle deck, I'm hearing the call to do, to step into my aquatic sound baths. I love
woo,
sound
me
baths, but I
too.
want us to do aquatic ones. And so that I feel like it's like I'm hearing that that time is going to be more like fall, winter vibes in indoor pool kind of energy. And then yeah, I am starting to build up some other spaces with people. And so if you want to stay in tune with all those happenings, please just follow me on my Substack, All the Moving Pieces. I have a Kwanzaa book coming out next year. I co-authored with someone, so I'm really hyped about that. Kwanzaa is like something I've re-stepped into as an adult,
Yeah.
and I love it. And I want more people we need it to be kind of like stepping into the 20th century because I feel like a lot of the books are from the 90s. That's why my publisher felt like they had no choice but to pick it up because they were like, there's no books right
Mhm.
now. So there's so many gaps, and that's a huge gap. And so Kwanzaa is beautiful, and I want those principles all year round for our
Oh,
community. And
yes, yes,
that's
yes, yes.
literally why that book means so much to us in relation to coming forth. And it's illustrated by the same illustrator from Saturday Night Magic,
Oh,
Sawyer
such a great
Cloud, and
illustrator.
she's beautiful. She also did Keep Dreaming Black Child. So I'm just so hyped for all of
Okay.
those to come out.
Yay. Yes. So we'll make sure that we link all of that
Yes.
in the show notes, and make sure that you share the books, all of the beautiful, like even this episode, it'll be linked with all of the magic and like Nyasha shared, reviews and just notoriety. She's got so many great things going, especially with Fire Honey Press. So if you feel like this resonates with you and you might know somebody that could be of a support to this amazing, beautiful passion project, please share. You never know who it might touch and where it can go, and the fire could just flame from there. So I just want to thank you so much for coming on, and I'm so excited for what we have going on in the future. And I'm just so grateful for you, not only as an author, as a social justice griot, as amazing person you are, but also as a friend and colleague and partner. So I'm
I'm
grateful
so
for
glad we
you.
got to meet in real life this year.
We saw each other IRL this month, earlier this month, and it was so amazing. It was so amazing. So if y'all are in the Colorado area, Nyasha has lots of events, doing lots of like you need to see if I could buy a ticket to that sound bowl bath because that just sounds like amazing. So if you're in the area, make sure you check out the events that she has on a Substack, and yeah, stay and be well, you
Thank you.
all, and thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It's been beautiful.
Yay. Wasn't that good? Oh, I just love Nyasha, and I'm so excited about all the projects that she has, and reflecting back into the collective because we know we need it. So I hope that this episode was inspiring for you to do your own liberation and creative work. And I just want to thank you for joining me on this episode of the experiment experiment. This episode of the Intuitive Wellness Experiment podcast, I hope that you found inspiration and insight on your exploration of intuitive living. Remember, your intuition is a powerful tool for navigating life's challenges and discovering your true path. I encourage you to experiment with embracing your intuition, cultivating self-awareness, and step into your spiritual sovereignty. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, share it with a friend, leave a comment of your favorite part, your favorite gem from this episode, and share with others that you think might benefit. Our episode sponsor was Fire Honey Press, so make sure that you share and get that good word out to the people, because that is true liberation work. So until next time, journey in grace and compassion, and trust your intuition, live authentically, and empower yourself to create a life that allows you to feel and be well. Merci beaucoup, and thank you for listening. Until next time.